Welcome, everyone, to the Everything Canada Soccer podcast. This one's slightly different than the ones before. Number one, we're not on webcams, and it's an interview. So we have Graham to my far left and Martino to right beside me, owners and runners of One Up Soccer, okay, here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Now, before we go anywhere, just want to give a shout out. Me, Felipe, and Jamal are wearing our uniforms, I guess, for lack of a better word. Okay? And that is
boys.
provided lovely by our sponsor, Matt, at World of Soccer YYC. So, shout out to you, Matt. Love you. And yeah, we're going to just get straight into it. So, how are we doing today?
Pretty good.
Good? Yeah?
Yeah, pretty good now.
Yeah? That's good.
But Jamal and Felipe, nice. In the crib. Fair enough. Thanks for having us. How are you guys doing? How's the trip from Winnipeg?
Winnipeg, yeah. Gave me about a week, escaping the minus 30 cold. If you all don't know, Winnipeg is a very cold city. But yeah, soaking in the views. I was in the mountains for a couple of days, and now I'm in the city. And yeah, it's been great.
Nice. Yeah, we're laughing here right now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Summer.
It's a good break from winter. But yeah,
It's not Brazil.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
not
it
school.
is, dude. Yeah.
+5 school for me. But it is what it is. Let's do it.
Okay, yeah. So, now we're just going to get straight into it. Everyone who's watching, I didn't meet Graham. Graham we kind of like ran into each other. So I work at World of Soccer that provides our, I want to say jerseys, but our swag and everything. And I was working one day, this guy who sounds like he's British, but I can't really tell if he is or not.
I have a weird mix of accents.
You reckon? I think kind of, a little bit.
Noticed.
Like when he walked in, and I'd never heard him speak ever before. I could hear a little.
First of all, don't listen to Martino and he's just gonna don't listen to Martino just because he's just jealous that I can speak better Spanish than him.
Where does it come from? Where does the accent come from?
I was overseas playing for 6-7 years. I spent a lot of time in Germany, 4 or 5 years. So I can speak German, and then Ireland and Spain. My dad's English, so it was more when I came back. People were like, "Where are you from?" And I thought I was just kind of speaking normal, and then now it's kind of who knows.
Yeah.
But just inside, little story. So Martino is Argentinian, speaks perfect Spanish. Okay, I speak a small amount of Spanish. I was there for 1 season, and then poquito solo. And when we train Spanish players, which is all the time, whether from South America or Spain, I try to speak to them in Spanish as much as possible. And I have this joke when I'm speaking Spanish to them, and Martino does. I'm speak slow with Martino. Muy malo español. I just tell them that he speaks bad Spanish, and for some way they believe me. And Martino gets so mad. It's so funny.
It's not that I get mad. It's not that I get mad. It's just this guy doesn't give you a second to talk when he's doing it. And I'm just trying to explain to them. I'm no, I actually speak Spanish fluently. This guy, he kind of struggles, but his accent's really good, to be fair. Even though he doesn't speak perfect Spanish, but his accent's very good, so people just
it's kind of
they believe him.
With languages, it's kind of you just have to send it, fake it till you make it when you're trying to learn. You know how it is. You speak a lot of languages, but I can get by with footy, because that's where I learned it. I learned on the pitch. Sometimes I go up to parents and we'll have a couple sentences, and then I kind of I don't say get lost, but.
Yeah.
Anyways,
No, that's really a plus to learn that, especially if you're traveling.
For sure.
Big plus.
Yeah. So back in the summer, Graham comes in, talks to me, says he likes my work. I can't remember the exact phrase, and then helped him do some camps, film social media stuff during then, and then kind of went on to a more of a coaching role / social media when Marty's not. But on Marty, so what's your past in Calgary? Were you born here?
So I was born in Argentina. I was only 2 years old when my parents moved to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
We moved to Halifax with a plan, kind of the idea what my parents always say, to move back to Argentina. Obviously didn't happen. We stayed in Halifax till I was 7, and then I moved to Calgary, and I grew up in Calgary pretty much my whole life since grade 1. I was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I went up through the ranks in youth soccer really in Canada, and I've played my whole life here. I got lucky enough to play over at State, the college here. And then that's kind of where Graham and I's paths started crossing even more than before. But yeah, growing up, played with Blizzards Soccer Club, CNS, Northwest United for all those OG. Like if you remember Northwest United, doesn't exist anymore, but yeah. So just through the ranks of soccer really, and then I crossed paths with this guy.
I crossed paths with him just getting this guy to try to track back because I assistant coach him at say, Martine, drop, get back.
Like I don't like defending.
For a
That's
year,
just
like,
I don't like defending.
Good attacker, great dribbler, but like doesn't get back, doesn't. So that's kind of how like our paths crossed. Like I'm like, yo, because it was first day or whatever.
Yeah, the first time
to
we
Connor, I'm like, what's? Oh yeah, we met at Cali's. Maybe that's what it was. I'm like, who is this guy? I think I was playing. I'm like, get back, man, help me. 'Cause I don't like defending either, really.
So you got 2 attackers in the house.
Yeah.
Center midfielder.
All right. Okay.
I'm
I
more
don't hate defending, but I like
So number 10.
probably attacking.
Number 10.
I would say like in the 8.
Hey, okay.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
first met when
Box.
I think I was 17, 18, and Graham was just coming back from Europe. And I tried out for the majors team with Callies.
Mhm.
I got lucky enough to make the team. I was on the traveling roster. Like, we would go to Edmonton every second week or whatever to play games. But yeah, Graham would come here and there whenever he wasn't busy. He was at Rangers at that time too. And yeah, that's when I first met him. And then I got my scholarship to play at State. And then he actually assistant coached my second year. And then, yeah, he was like, does anyone want to volunteer?
I think you came up to me like, do you have anything?
Yeah, well,
any coaching?
you put it in like a group chat. You're
That's
like,
right.
hey guys, like I'm doing a one-up
No, but
soccer.
before that, I already kind of
Summer
knew you had
camp.
interest in coaching. You were like,
Yeah. So then I volunteered at One Up Soccer, and that's when we kind of started working together. So
Okay. So yeah, before we
Yeah.
branch off to that, because that's a whole another thing. Graham, tell us about like your past and what led to you creating One Up.
Yeah, grew up here as well with a footy crazy family. First of all, my dad, being from London, huge Chelsea boy. Shout out the Blues. We just need to sign one more player and we'll be good. No. So my dad. So growing up, this is no cap. My dad played. My mom played. Both good players. My sister, baller, played like full red scholarship down in the States. My parents owned a footy store. That which was formerly the
Fisher Soccer Shack,
Soccer
right?
Shack.
Yeah.
So of course, being the youngest, like I played. So I grew up with a footy family. Played locally here, and then always had aspirations of going overseas to play. There was no pathway here like there was today. Anyone who wanted to play professionally had to leave. So yeah, had all these promises, nothing really panned out. And then around when I was around 15, I think, in between grade 9 and 10, I was just playing a random game, and a coach from New York saw me play, asked me to go to this Real Madrid sort of like training camp where they invited 40 players out for a camp. Go there, we played the 92s, my age group Real Madrid actually academy team, had a good game, and they invited me back for a trial. So I pull up a week later. I'm chilling with like Albert Morata for 2 weeks, coming off like playing at like Flames Community Arena. Like that's our modest field, but going from there a week to to training for 2 weeks with Morata, that was a big step for sure. And then from there, like long story short, I had an agent in Edmonton contact me, Edmund Shu, and he had trials lined up for me in England and Germany. One of them being Schalke, who I ended up signing for and playing my first U19 season for. And then from there, I had lots of ups and downs. Like that's like when you tell a story like that, I feel like that's the lot of ups of it and the lucky part, but lots of downs as well. So I spent 4 years in Germany, a year in Ireland, a year in Spain, and then came back here, started passing it on.
Right on. So those are more like short-term contracts, or just sort of like
The one at Schalke with under 19 was a year, and then I went to Erfurt in East Germany.
Okay.
That was actually 2.5 years, where I spent most of my football, and then the other ones were 1 year.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
Right on. That's a lot of experience for such a young player, right?
Yeah, a lot of experience for a young player. Also, as a young person, I always tell people this that are like interested in not even footy related, like traveling or like I want to go check out this opportunity. I always tell them do it because like being 15, and it wasn't like, to be honest, it wasn't oh, go in this dorm and stay with this. It was literally me on my own, like as a U19 player in Schalke, living on my own, learning the language, feeding myself. So without those experiences, I wouldn't be able to kind of have the life and be the guy I am today. But also in the sense of footy, like just kind of what I'm happy with, like moving around sometimes is difficult, but it allowed me to just learn from different cultures of football, going from like playing with Norbert Elgert at Schalke, who raised like Özil, Matip, Neuer. Neuer used to walk on our training pitch once a week. Going from him to play with like, shout out Ollie Horgan at Finn Harps, Ireland, was completely different football, different sport almost. So
Different mentalities.
exactly, different mentalities, different style of play, different training style. So it just kind of allowed me to take little pieces of the good and the bad from different football cultures to be able to kind of do what I am today, and now to kind of pass on to our one-up ballers. So.
So then, why did you create it? Because I'm surprised I haven't even asked you this. Just me and you talking. Like, why did you create one up?
I found that. So when I moved back here at like 25, I worked at a youth club here called Rangers. Shout out Rangers. Worked there for 2.5, 3 years, and I was just like so heavily involved in the club environment here. And I think the clubs here do a fantastic job at, like you know yourself, you do a lot of work at Foothills. They do such a fantastic job of like growing the sport. And I was a head coach and a director at Rangers, so I saw like a lot of the things that like the players are getting that are good. But to be honest, and this is nothing against the clubs, I saw some gaps, just in terms of like individual player development. An example I always use is like at One Up, we have like different training, training menu, and every week is a different topic. We spend a whole week on vision and awareness, the technique and breakdown of scanning and planning and checking your shoulder. Last week was protecting and shielding, a whole hour, a whole week for us on how to protect the ball, spin. Those sorts of little details is difficult for like a head coach of a club to work on when they have them 2 to 3 times a week. They have a game to worry about, they have tactics to introduce. And I was just kind of looking at players, and these players are so like good tactically, their foundation is so good, but this player struggles to protect the ball. This player struggles to see around them. This striker struggles to finish. So I just started to kind of help a lot of youth players around, just like on the side, just help them improve individually.
Yeah.
With, again, like I said, the little details that I learned, like an example again at Schalke, we would train at night because we were youth players, but in the morning, we would train in like groups of 4, and it was the most simple activities ever. And that's something I was guilty of when I was a young coach. I thought every activity had to be so detailed and so complicated. But like this coach I was talking about that raised all these great players, the most simple activities, and I just felt like my touch was so clean. And that's because we had just that like focus, one coach, like 4, 5, 6 players on the ball, and like different one topic per week. So that's why I started doing these players, and then just kind of, I was lucky enough to have quite a bit of players and didn't really have enough time, and I thought just like it'd be a cool step for myself to be able to expand and help more players, but also kind of just I've always in the back of my head wanted to have my own business, so it's just kind of a cool way to kind of like meet my passion and like the fact of me wanting to have a business right in the middle. Started it, grinded for the first year by myself, like grinded, and then now I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by a great team, including you two, and we're flying.
Rolling. So then, Marty, what's Graham's coaching style compared to? Because obviously you probably had plenty of coaches growing up. What's the difference between Graham coming over with European experience and playing experience at the youth level? What's the difference?
Honestly,
I'm
like
going to get you to redo that. I might have to because it only has 29 minutes. Okay, perfect.
We're
That's
at
good.
14.
Yeah, we're at 14. Okay, perfect. Just want to check.
Yeah, that's smart to check that.
Yeah, I don't want to have to like do it again. That's why I did a little.
it's only at 29 minutes.
It only goes for 29. Then you have to reset it. That's just canon, I guess. Yeah, good old.
Really?
Yeah.
Yours is
Hot.
20. It might be the same thing.
20. Maybe. Okay. So the question.
interesting. Yeah. So Okay, so Marty, what's the difference between Graham coming over from Europe with plenty of playing experience at the youth level compared to coaches that have probably only been in Canada or around?
Yeah, good question. Honestly, like I grew up with like a lot of good coaches. Tommy Wheeldon Senior. Um, Shout out to him. He was at Blizzards when I was there. Like it's compared to the first time I saw Graham really coach. Even as just like a person, like he's very good at connecting with players right off the jump. So like whenever he's talking, just from the first 5 minutes or so from just meeting a new player, a lot of these players are they're like glued to him and they're like their attention's on him. Like whatever he says, they really do respect him. And that's just based off like his energy that he gives off, especially as he's coaching as well. That's like one of the massive things that I noticed in terms of like how good of a coach he really is. And he's, even in his short time here just in Calgary, he's obviously like started developing some very, very good players and they've made a lot of strides. Some girls that Graham's coached even from a young age are already playing on the U17, U19 national teams and in the World Cups and things like that. So, and that's just a testament to all the hard work that he's really put in. And honestly, like me jumping in on this ship, I feel very lucky and privileged to have him kind of as a captain of the ship and leading it. And he's done a really fantastic job in the short time that he's been back from Europe. So yeah.
Aww. Yeah, it's gotten deep right now, man. I got it deep. Thank you,
Full circle.
Yeah.
Full circle moment right here.
Yeah,
That's right on.
Let me add on to that though. Like it was me that started it, and I was Graham the first year, but I'll go back to what I said with the team, where it's like without like having Martino, Jordy, and like all of our team in the back and on the pitch, none of this could be possible. So that's like a massive thing for us is I can't be on the field all day, neither can Martino, neither can Jordy. So just growing the team is big and kind of that follows the same mentality as us. That's the key. So
How big is the team right now?
I think in total, we have around 12 coaches.
Okay.
Of course, some do more than others. We have, for our main program, our small group training program, we have 7 or 8. Martino, he on top of the social media, he directs our grassroots, our younger ones, and a really exciting program. It's called our Discovery Program, which is kind of in between beginner and recreational. So a lot of players that want to try the game or maybe playing in lower tiers that just aren't ready for our small group training program. Obviously with the sport growing so much and the World Cup coming here and our national teams doing well, that's a really exciting program for us. It's our way to kind of give back and grow the sport. So Martino does those two, and he has a staff of like our younger players, our older players, so like under 19, under 17 players. We hired to kind of do that. So lots of help. We also have a junior coach program, which like our 15, 14-year-olds, they come on volunteer. So
As coaches?
yeah, as coaches.
Wow.
So they play. They might play at train at 6 o'clock, then work 7, 8 as volunteers. So
Nice.
that helps us kind of build the staff. So Martino
Helps
has a lot
build
of
the staff, but also like really helps build the culture. Like these kids are like at that point, they're all kind of all around one-up soccer. Like they'll be maybe even playing a game themselves, and then there might be like a younger age group playing right after them, and it's a couple kids that they just coached last night kind of thing. So they're all seeing each other in these facilities or whatever, and it's all under the roof of One Up, which is really nice, and again just kind of helps build that culture, and that's why we really started the junior coach program, is just to help these kids be role models for the younger ones, because they're putting in the work and developing their crafts and trying to show the little ones how it's done too. So
Yeah, you mentioned crafts, and I think a lot of these players, these players, they want to eventually become professionals, right? Professional athletes. And for the few who don't, I think this will really help them if they want to study sports science or go into something like that.
Yeah.
in university. So it's definitely
Yeah.
a base to have.
Exactly, and just work experience. Like
Yeah.
we speak a lot about like coming and having initiative, or like even just like shaking hands with everyone. It's like we spoke about that a lot. Like some players or junior coaches will come in and they'll like just kind of sneak in and not say anything to anyone. It's like, well, when you get a job in a couple of years, you're gonna have to be able to go and approach adults and speak to them like an adult. Do you know what I mean? That's like such a big part of life. So obviously we want to pick good footballers, but kind of having those little moments to coach them is so valuable as well.
Yeah, the communication skills, the leadership skills they need to
Exactly.
develop.
Yeah.
I also think that will help develop your soccer IQ because you're also coaching and analyzing from outside, and then that will improve another layer. Right?
100%. I didn't know how to defend outnumber until I started coaching. So like when I started coaching, I wish I started it like at 18 or whatever, because I remember it was at Rangers. I just started and my topic was defending outnumbered. Just like I had to think about it, like study it a little bit, and a player gave me the answer one time.
What's the answer?
So it was a 2v1.
Okay.
And I was speaking about like forcing outside or whatever it was. And then I was speaking to a player. I think it was Rafa. Shout out Rafa if you're watching this. He was like, well, I was like, anyone else have any ideas? Like almost like question and answer, but like low key, like someone give me the answer, because you know what I mean? So he just said like, why don't you angle your like, if you have the ball and Martino is attacking me, you two, I'm just going to shift my hips and take him out of the game. So now I've turned into a 1v1.
Yeah.
And then when I started playing, like when I was playing futsal or like at men's, I was like, I started doing that. So coaching, I always tell the junior coaches that, like once you start coaching, you're going to improve your gaps like so much faster.
It's a different perspective.
100%.
Yeah.
It kind of, and it also forces you to think about it, you know? As a player, it's so easy to just get comfortable with, I'm good at this, this is my favorite move, I'm going to be doing this move every single time. And you're not really thinking about, like, concepts that happen at any moment in a game. So, yeah, that's definitely
Like combining.
combined.
Martino?
Yeah.
I mean, we scream at the screen. When we're watching matches, we can see it from like afar, right? So
Yeah.
oh, there's an easy pass, there's that. So
Yeah.
One
guys,
of the
it's-
fields.
yeah, when you're on the field, it's completely
Yeah.
different. We all know that. So.
Quick question about the. Sorry, I'll let you.
No, you get It's good.
About the experience you had in Germany and with some of the European clubs you passed by. Of course, infrastructure is massive in Europe. Even in South America, I play club level for basketball, which I was telling you before. But I played for a big soccer club, it's called Fluminense Football Club. They're one of the biggest ones in South America.
Wow.
So even from the Olympic sports standpoint, they have dietitians, physicians that work with you, sports psychologists, right? All the infrastructure under the age 14, 15, 16, 17.
Yeah.
Did you experience that in the youth academy, a shock? Like besides just actually coaching soccer?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference though was sort of the training ground. So they actually had like a couple times in the season they would have seminars. There was like coaches from Ireland, coaches from Spain come over and like study their setup, because they would have like on their training ground they had like training pitches, the first team pitch, stadium like in the background, and then a school right there. It wasn't their school, but it was just by a school where all of us went to that were kind of local. And it was just like everything kind of under one roof. They had like dorms where some of the player lives, a kitchen. So I thought that was like very interesting, you're just walking like your whole day. You get there like 7, train in the gym. You go and you do your I would do like a German class, then go into your like technique work that I was speaking about before, go eat lunch, go back to school for your other studies, and then come train at night. And then you could go into the dorms anytime and like have a rest or like play FIFA. So that was really interesting. In terms of like nutritionists and stuff like that, honestly, I don't want to say back then and age myself up too much, but it's interesting, like that wasn't even as relevant.
Okay.
It was more like a lot of like strength training and like very specific to what the players needed. But yeah.
So then, what's the future plans? What up? Any 5-10 year plans, or is that not you?
Classified information.
Of course.
No,
Of course.
just playing. I think it's important for us to have a plan, but I think it's also important for us to see sort of what's happening in Calgary and Alberta locally, and kind of like fill those voids and give back to the players as much as possible. So many things are changing in Calgary right now, especially in the last 5 years. If you think about like the full-time programs for the most advanced players through Whitecaps, male and female side, CPL, Alberta Youth Soccer League. So even since 2019, when one of them started, the landscape has changed so much. So we have to sort of kind of take in and then try to provide value as much as possible where needed and always kind of adapt.
Yeah.
That being said, we're not just every day just winging it. I think in a perfect world, we try to make as a complete as possible pathway for all male and female players here in a sort of partnership with the clubs, because we're supplementary, right? We work with the clubs, not against them. That's super important for us. We even we process like 40 reschedules a week. Shout out Kevin, who takes that role.
Yeah, shout out Kevin.
Like they'll book a Friday and all of a sudden they'll get a game and we'll pop them in another day. That's really important to us. So we're just a piece of the puzzle for these players, but we want to provide as much value. So I think in the next couple of years, we want to have a complete pathway. So from Martino's grassroots program, a 3-year-old to have enjoy their training and quality training and holistic improvement. We're speaking with the junior coach program, not just football, but like to create as many good players and people as possible from 3 all the way to the pathway into our recreational program or advanced program, and then maybe into under 19 or under 20 sort of training program. We can help players that are sort of floating about. That's something that we need to improve in Calgary. Is once a player's at 16, if they're not creaming the crop, sometimes they're in limbo. Into our adult teams where we have a men's team, a first team in the Prem here, and starting to get our feet wet with women's team. We have a futsal team going right now. So having to be able to go from there all the way in Calgary is something that we're working towards. Once that happens and it's running well, then we can start to think about like what's next.
Yeah.
The most important piece of that, though, is that they enjoy their football. And that's like our cheesy slogan, enjoy the process. I think a lot of players here are under a lot of stress. And it's nothing against, maybe it's a coach in this scenario or a club in that scenario, but
Even a parent.
yeah, parent and sport creates stress, and sometimes it's good stress, and you know how to deal with it. But when they come to us, we stress that it's like we don't have games, we're not picking a lineup on the weekend. They come to us and enjoy it and stretch your development by training at game speed and not being afraid to make a mistake. Maybe a 14-year-old is never strikes a volley on their non-favorite foot. Do it here. Fail 20 times, and you'll bang one in your match. So we want them to have a good pathway, but after they sort of finish their football at a high level, we want them to go enjoy it afterwards. A cool story with that is I just coached, this is no lie, I just coached my mom's over 60 soccer team in Hawaii. I wasn't going to travel this winter, and then they asked me, and we went there for 3 days. Like, not a bad place to go. I'm like, in Hawaii. Yeah. So we went there, and like there was a 7-year-old on the team. And I'm looking at these players like they've been playing football, some of them, straight for, 60 years. It's because that tells me they had a good experience when they're young, and they had a good coach, and they loved the football. So it's like when you're taking that enjoyment away from them at a young age, you're not just like affecting maybe their pathway here, but you're also affecting that. Like, we want all of our players to like go and play in Hawaii when they're 70. So yeah,
Enjoy the process.
I think also like the relationships that kids make, because I see clubs, and there is usually distinctions because there's obviously teams and whatnot. You can't stick with your team. Where one up, I see a little less of that, and I think it's because like with the way that it's 8 players, trying to know more than 8, right?
yeah, we try our best.
So yeah, of course, it's not always going to be perfect, but along with that, you don't get the same type of player. You don't get 8 players that are exactly the same. You get some that are super tall, and then you get some that are like a lot shorter. So there's like
It's interesting.
I love when I coach. It's just interesting to see the dynamics of the different players and how they interact.
Exactly. Well, it's interesting to see like if we have a player that's 14 coming from this club their whole life and this club for their whole life, they'll be kind of different players. Just their club philosophy, right? If they come from this club, they might be like really savage defenders and very simple. They come from this club, they might be a little bit tricky, and we like to see that. When we bring them all together, and place them not by age or gender, by whoever we think is best for their
Okay,
development.
that's interesting.
Whether they need to train a little bit younger, because that doesn't happen enough. And comparing to Europe, like Jesse Lingard is an example of that. I think he trained it 2 years down, but they knew he was going to be something. So it's like we can't do that here. So we might have like a little small technician that we think actually, go and like take hold of the session in a year younger, or someone that's physically advanced that needs to go up. So we mix all that with like players from different clubs and put them all together, and sometimes to see how they are. It's like go and meet some player from another club, dap them up or dap her up, and then when you play against each other, maybe you say hi before, because I don't know why it's like that in Canada, like the football culture. Like anywhere else, you'll say hi before a match, chat to them, smash them in the game. Like don't get me wrong, like take care of business. Like I'll dap you up and then like smash you in a tackle and then dap you up after the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But here it's like everyone's in their clubs and it's just like
It comes from the hockey culture, that they have.
I was gonna say that. Oh, you're honestly you're spot on with that. So we tell the players, like when you see like a group mate or like a one-up fam member, go and say hi to them. Like we'll kind of create that culture in your game.
Actually, 2 players, shout out Braden and Bryce. They play each other a lot.
Yeah,
And like they're 2 junior coaches for
one-up
guys.
OGs.
They've been there forever. But like I think they junior coach on Saturdays or something like that. And then they played each other recently, like last week, and then they're just like arguing about a goal, was it not? But then they junior coach together. So it's like kind of cool. 2 players, separate clubs play each other.
Like an hour before their game.
Hour before their game,
They were
they're
just
junior
kind of
coaching
helping
together.
out a couple hours, and then
So
they
cool.
knew they were playing each other.
Yeah.
So I meant to ask you that before because you were touching that futsal topic, right? Or you mentioned about the futsal teams that you guys also have. How important do you think it's futsal for youth development? Like coming from South America, that's big in Brazil. You see a lot of, like, if you take half of the Brazil national team right now, they all came from futsal, including Neymar and Anthony and players like that played this past World Cup. So how important do you think it is, and how is futsal in Canada? Because it's not something I actually got involved
I
in.
have a lot to say on this one for sure. I think it's massive. Unfortunately, here with a lot of youth players, it has like a negative connotation because the players and nothing against the association, it was just like kind of facilities, and we didn't have all these 11-side facilities. If you were like from 9 to 18 and playing at the top tier or sometimes top 2 tiers, all winter you're playing futsal. I think it's a fantastic, like, it's a different sport, right? So it's supplementary. So now, like, since I've retired, I love to play futsal. I was lucky enough to go for the camp with the national team. Kit and Clev doing such a good job at creating and building the futsal all over Canada with nationals and stuff like that. And I love it. Going in indoor, I'd rather play futsal because I think it's faster. You have more touches. So I think we need to try to find ways to sprinkle futsal into the development. The trouble, and a lot of the members will agree with this. The trouble is that it has a negative connotation because they're forced to play it. Like, have you ever seen an under 8 tier 2 boy kick a futsal? Oh, it looks like they're kicking a medicine ball, and the thing would be out half of the game. So like you watch it, and it was just like so. And the members and the parents and the players like didn't quite like enjoy it. So now sometimes you say futsal, and people are like, oh no, not again.
Or like they roll their eyes.
But like also kind of like going back to when we were talking about like that hockey culture as well. Like growing up here, instead of futsal, what it was like arena soccer.
Yeah.
So like it's like pretty much hockey and soccer combined together with like the ball bouncing off the boards and all that.
Blue cards.
And yeah, like
I think I played them.
yeah, it's just like it's definitely faster, but like one of the worst, I think, things for the kids' development as well. I love futsal. Again, just like you coming from that South American background, like futsal is one of the things I enjoy playing the most. But yeah, it's just kind of like that leaking in that hockey culture a little bit into the soccer and just the parents and the associations, just people around it that don't like the technicality of it and want to see more like fast-paced, non-stop action with their kids. So yeah, that's kind of I think where that comes from and why futsal hasn't really clicked as much in this country as it might over over down south. So
I think they go like this. So outdoor season too, because you can still play futsal like outdoor. You know what I mean? Like during the outdoor season, right? I think maybe either like twice during the winter season or once during the winter season, one outdoor season. You have tournaments where like you put your team in and it's a futsal tournament like twice a year, and then maybe the players train it a couple weeks before that. So you're getting in the 12 months like 2 months of futsal training once a week, and I think that will help supplement a lot of the technical skills that the typical Canadian player lacks. What's your? I feel like you have an opinion on this.
No, I think it's great, man. Like I said, futsal is just like, so much ball control, so much understanding of small spaces with the ball, where to be, where to run, instead of just having a big field. When you're 7, 8 years old, you throw yourself on a professional football field, you're literally this size of a massive dirt field, right?
For sure.
On futsal, you gotta understand small spaces. So I feel like the IQ developed much faster, but the ball control is key as well. So even having that mix, it's better than none. Right, I feel like you touched on a big topic, winter. It's not something that we face as much in South America. So winter is a big pause. Like we see that in the CPL. I think that's one of the major issues that we're facing right now. Halifax can't even get their home stadium to be open because the agreement they have with the stadium is from end of April and on, because they didn't think they were going to be playing during winter. And then Canada Soccer go there with the Canadian Championship, and they have to find that out of province stadium to play their home game.
It's York Lions Stadium, I think they're doing it at, and then Pacific FC is hosting Cavalry to start with.
So I think that not having the culture of pausing football or soccer in the winter, having something else is still much needed in Canada. And I feel like even doing a tournament, you know what I mean? Taking up some kids that play on the field, practicing a couple times futsal just to throw on a tournament so they have something to do in the winter is much better than pausing. That's just my opinion. It's not a big opinion, that bad one. It's just the idea that
One up futsal tournament.
There you go. There you go.
Drop in the comments. Should we have a one up futsal tournament?
Sweet. Okay, so I have a couple questions. First, it's open to both of you. What would you? Let me know how I phrase this. I wrote this last night when I was tired. What would you ask, or what would you tell your 12-year-old self to do if you wanted to take footy to like the next level? Like if you see it on TV, you watch the World Cup, you watch Canada, and you're like, I want to do that. Okay, what would you tell your past 12-year-old self to help him get there, or to start? Because a lot of people don't know where to start.
Go first.
Sure. So my past 12-year-old self, like, I'm not the kind of guy to say like, oh, I have regrets, blah, blah, blah. Like, I wish I took my soccer more seriously, all that. Honestly, like, and I think a lot of kids also need to hear this, because some of them, they might have a massive passion in football, but like, just don't forget to be a kid still, like at 12 years old, I loved footy. It was something that I loved to do. And if you gave me a ball, I would literally have that ball at my feet 24 hours. But like, again, there's just so much pressure, especially with the game growing so fast. There's so much pressure elsewhere from coaches, parents, even on your own self, that I would just tell myself, just don't forget to be a kid at 12. Yeah.
I'm going to change the question.
Yeah. Okay.
To help
To 18, to 18, I'll explain mine, to 18 or 19.
Okay.
Personally, I'm actually looking back, and I look back at my career with a very critical eye of things I did well and things I could do better. Because like I said, I had lots of ups and downs. I was actually very happy with myself at 12 years old because I just loved it so much. And some parents will come up to me like, oh, like, what did your parents make you do at that age to go to play where you were? Like, I'll say this, my parents never once told me to train, told me to do extras. My dad coached me for until I was 12 or 13, so I was lucky where anything he needed to say as a coach, he said it at the pitch. And then on the way home, that infamous drive home, we would just he already coached me. So I would play before school, lunch, after school. I'd walk home, go in my backyard, smash the ball around, go train, watch my dad play. And that was all just purely because I enjoyed it. And that's why I think my development at that age was probably my some of my best in my whole career because I was always on the ball and just enjoyed it. And a lot of parents want their kids to go here, but they put too much pressure and they don't enjoy it. As soon as we see a player train with us that we don't think want to be there, we don't let them train. Because if you're training 5 times a week and you're doing supplementary training and you don't absolutely love it, it's going to make you a worse player because you're going to resent the sport. So just at 12 years old, just enjoy it and do it because you love it. Now, 18, 19 is when you have to, for me, shift a little bit and do the things that you don't want to do. And that's something that I wish I did a little bit more, to be honest with you, where I relied so much on my career with my technique. But, could I have maybe, instead of gone to the gym with my team for the half an hour before training, could I have got there early and done 45 minutes? Could I have taken my diet seriously? Could I have gone out and partied less? Don't get me wrong, I wasn't out every weekend, but distractions start to come. You're living in a new country by yourself. Easy to get distracted, right? Could I have stayed, you have a session where it's like freezing rain. Could you have stayed half an hour after and smashed some balls? It's like that 5%, 10% to go from here to there is one thing, but to go with that little step where it's like such a small margin, there's so many players there, you have to be eating right, you have to be watching your football, you have to be doing more than everyone else. And that's what I would tell my 19-year-old, 18-year-old self is do those extras more than anyone. And I see a lot of our players do that, by the way. They'll go up to the pitch themselves and they'll take their football really seriously. And I can see so many of our players motivated. Unfortunately, some players do it for content though. It's are you going to the pitch and train? I don't go to the pitch and train for 2 hours and record yourself hitting some top ends a couple times. Fantastic. But I'm always kind of wondering, are you going there just to get the content?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We shoot content at our sessions, but never for to replace.
Yeah, we're not telling the kids if it's anything after a session, do a TikTok dance or something, whatever.
Yeah.
In a session though, it's purely focused, just further development. They're there to improve themselves, and we tell them every day. We're every single time you step into this gym, it's in order to improve, right? But yeah, and obviously it is a thing going on around the entire world with this whole epidemic of social media, cell phones, all that. It's so easy to get distracted, so easy to get distracted. You could pull out your phone just to answer a text and all of a sudden you end up on Instagram for 30 minutes. So it's you have to be very self-aware and it's always, I think, a great idea, especially if you want to take your soccer a little bit more serious, is to come up with a plan, write it down. What do you have to do every day? What do you want to work on? Where do you need to improve? And not just have this plan and make it yourself, but have those conversations with people in the game as well, like your coaches. I always love when a kid comes up to us and asks hey, is there anything that I can improve on? And obviously we have so many kids and we're seeing so many different personalities come to the gym and it's very nice to see when a kid is genuinely really trying to improve themselves and they say, hey, what can I do? This is kind of my plan. I want to improve in this. This is what I think I need to work on, blah, blah, blah. And it's always nice to hear those things. So
I'm telling you, players are motivated right now. Motivated. They see all these Canadian pathways that we're speaking about, World Cup, this and that. Players are, Calgarian players, and I'm sure it's the same thing across the whole country, are motivated to be there. It's great to see. Makes our job easy. Everyone that comes to us blows my mind how many players play full-time in a club and they want to come to us for extras.
That's what I noticed when I first came over, because a lot of the times at clubs I've coached at, it's you'd almost have to try and motivate the players a little bit to an extent. Whereas when I came, everyone's just all eyes staring at me. I'm I've never really been in a situation where everyone's just want to get better, I want to get better. It's just a hunger, and I think that's like you said, all across Canada. I think everyone's experiencing. You just watched Alphonso Davies score the first ever goal that Canada has ever scored in a World Cup for the men's. It's just and who knows what 2026 will hold. There's 2 Gold Cups and a Copa America potentially. for Canada.
Between
class, no?
Between the World Cup and matches, we can win a Gold Cup in that time. It's definitely within the realms of possibility.
Yeah.
But it's like all these kids want to be a part of it. Even on the women's side as well, winning can't not mention a gold medal, right? Like that's massive.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
no. So lastly, we're gonna get into some fun stuff here. Okay. Premier League's the most watched in the world. Okay. And I think each of us here, at least, like my main team isn't in the Prem. Mine's Bayern, obviously, because they're the best team in the world. But I have a soft spot for United because my first ever coach was a United fan. So that's who I started watching first before my family took me to Bayern.
I'm the same too. Like, I'm a Barca fan, but
Yeah, Messi, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. So we're gonna start with. Let's go. I'll start. Top 4. I'll get the table out actually.
So what's
Yeah, hopefully the stage
Top
is well
4
people.
Premier League
we're
predictions.
picking top 4?
Yes.
Top 4
Okay.
finish, right?
Number 1.
It's so unpredictable.
Yeah, it is. I think City are getting relegated. I don't know.
What?
Actually,
Okay.
I don't want to ask the
Wrong
next
with
to Arsenal's
that.
title.
Yeah, right.
I wanna
Really
ask
win it because City get
Yeah, I don't want that.
No, so we'll say let's just ignore City's whole ban and everything.
Okay.
For this. So the top 4 right now is Arsenal, City, United, and Newcastle.
Tottenham in 5th, no?
Tottenham 5th, Brighton 6th, Brentford.
Right?
And that's all we need to speak of. Don't
That's
think about
really-
Chelsea and that.
Yeah, then all the way down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Battle for Conference League, huh?
They're my Leeds 1 point away from relegation.
They
Alright.
do. Okay.
So I'll
Yeah.
start.
Big
I'm
one.
gonna go on record. I just think Arsenal's gonna win it. You know, I just it doesn't make sense that they're not.
Tell
I just think it's gonna happen. But I think that with everything going on in the City, I think they'll drop out of the top 2. I think United will have a strong finish this season. Savitzer is going to be a great signing, I think. I love him. I loved him at Bayern, so I'm sad he's gone.
them.
But I think let's go Arsenal, United, City probably.
Spurs or Newcastle?
It's just
Or the Bees?
Spurs. Like
These.
I really want to say Brighton, you know.
Yeah.
Top 4? Not even Liverpool? No.
Where's Liverpool?
probably.
Liverpool's they're
Nah, they're gone.
nine-
They're gone.
was
They're
it?
gone.
21 points away.
Yeah.
From Champions
Okay, so you got
League.
City, United, Arsenal. What's
So
yours?
Arsenal, that's gonna win, I think. Then United, then City. I think it might be sound safe, but I think I might say Newcastle.
Yeah.
It might be safe,
So
but I
the-
just
are
can't
you saying
see.
the top 4 ends as it is now?
Well, swap the Manchesters, and
Okay.
then that's what it's gonna end up.
You
at.
think City's 3rd?
I think they could. I think they'll drop out. Pep Guardiola is gonna want the Champions League, right? So he's not gonna care about the league too much.
No chance.
Last year, he said,
Yeah.
He wants to leave.
yeah. So I just don't think it's stable enough. I mean, we just lost Cancelo as well. I don't know why.
On a free, apparently Bayern didn't let
Yeah.
them pay a fee for him.
No,
That
free
was
loan
such
with
a-
us.
There's like no rumors about that move,
No.
by the way.
That has to be some financial fair play move.
Maybe.
Well, just like Juventus.
You had some weird starts to the season, though.
They got rid of him. Like who? Joe.
Yeah. As a Bayern fan, he's already got 2 assists for us in the first 2 games.
So
Yeah.
He got an assist first 15 minutes, huh?
Yeah.
my predictions. I'm gonna kind of shift this around a little bit as it is now. So I think City's gonna win. Obviously, bar whatever happens with what's going on now. City first, Arsenal second. I think there's gonna be like a point separating them. I think it might be like another Aguero moment.
That'd be Portugal.
I think so. City, Arsenal. I think tough to say. I do think Newcastle is going to be 3rd. I rate how they're playing right now. They're playing very, very well.
Fair.
I don't think United's going to be in there, and I don't think Tottenham's going to be there. I'm going to put Brighton in 4th. Yeah.
What?
Wait.
Wait,
Hey,
and I'll tell you what.
Hot take.
You know this guy.
2 games ahead, though, to be fair.
McAllister.
I like
Let's talk about
The real guys.
The whole World Cup, McAllister was class, man.
Yeah, so good.
Unreal.
Better than Enzo Fernandez.
I actually thought he was
I'll tell
going to leave during this transfer window.
Mm.
Like, I really thought him.
So literally just earlier today, Graham and I were talking about this, and I've literally been talking about Argentina winning the World Cup. I know it's getting old now. I'll get getting tired of it, but I don't think without McAllister's performance and without Enzo's performance, like I don't think we win that.
We were just saying, like, imagine just covering Messi. Sometimes he drops in with you and you have to get out, or sometimes he just walks back and you are doing three people's jobs.
Like, that's the thing.
Bulldogs.
You could make a run and say, for example, we lose the ball, and if you're McAllister and Messi doesn't draw, you have to work to get back. And and that's not like a hate towards Messi. I love Messi. He is my absolute idol. This guy doesn't need to defend. He could just give him the ball and let him do his thing. You know what I mean? But the performance and the shift those guys put in, it was incredible. I know you can't see the documentary here, but there's when I went to Argentina on Netflix, there's a documentary on like their Copa America win. It was like these guys were not just playing for a World Cup, but they were playing for Messi.
Yeah.
And that's literally what carried them over the
You
line.
can see that.
You can just see it. You can see it, and just like the documentary does such a good job of like showing it as well in the locker rooms. Like there's this one like in the finals when Messi like talks and like gives that speech to all those boys. You can just like tell how motivated they were, and like their blood is boiling to get on this pitch and just whoop these Brazilians.
But like, yeah, that's beef. I think some of those players were playing for like Messi's legacy over their own.
Yeah,
Hey, man,
That's what it was, you know?
It's an argument.
Yeah, you even see some players like they're a bit limited on the European soccer, like Acuna. You know what I mean? And then you see him playing for Argentina national team. It's like one of the best fullbacks in the World Cup.
Yeah.
And he's really limited when he plays Spanish League, for example. He's just in the World Cup, you can see that he's not even going to the offense as much, just staying on the back line, helping the line of four.
Yeah.
Romero, same thing. I saw him getting a really silly yellow card dispatched first match against City.
Yeah.
And Romero in the World Cup, every time he'll go in or when he started,
Yeah.
not forcing anything, making sure that he didn't jeopardize the team performance. So
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's when you see like no matter what sport it is, even like basketball, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like the moment you can form a team that is kind of playing for something bigger than just winning in itself, they go way beyond what anyone ever expects from them.
Okay, Graham, give us your top 4 predictions for the Prem.
You're not going to like me with this one.
Oh, man.
I would speak about Arsenal for a second. I cannot stand their fans, man. I'm so sorry. I can't. I just, like, not.
Hey, man, it's hard, man. 20 years of heartbreak, but we'll take a good. We'll take a good.
Nothing against you, my guy.
50
But
points clear.
here's why. You don't hear anything from any of their fans in 12 years. And then now they're having a good season and they're just, all my boys are Arsenal fans just hitting me up. Arsenal this, Arsenal that. And I'm just
Shut
like,
up, Kevin.
yeah. Kevin, get it done. So, just out of passion, they're going to finish second. So we're going to go City, Arsenal, Newcastle, United. I think Newcastle just need to focus on top 4. They don't have too many distractions. I think that's very powerful. I think we're playing some good football. And yeah, I would love to say Chelsea in there, but we'll just say we're building for next year. Not the best one. That's mine.
I mean, you're still in the Champions League, so there's a path.
We're going to see. We have a bad season, we win the Champions
There's a path to the Champions League.
League. We have 5.
No.
No.
PSG, but
PSG. Who does Chelsea have even? Porto?
No, it's PSG and Bayern, I think. Right?
Yeah.
But it's Chelsea.
Chelsea is.
let me whip up the good Google.
Yes, let's see.
While he's checking that, Felipe, what's your
Yes, it's
prediction?
not-
my top 4, I already told you that. If Gabriel Jesus is not back, they will win. If he's back, you guys will fall down. No, but Sakani, Ketia, and Martinelli, they're working quite well together. I think that I really like Arteta. I'm not a big fan of Arsenal, like similar as you. I think that their fans disappear and they come back when they're hyped. But I feel like they're going to take it this year. Second place, I actually feel that Man U, it's going to go. I like what the new coach is doing it. I don't know how to say his Dutch last name. I always
Eric Ten Hag?
Erik ten Hag. I think that I actually watch a lot of Man U games. That's the kind of British team I like. So not that have a specific club there, but it's just I think they're gonna take second. I think Newcastle in third, and I think that Man City is gonna fall to fourth, if not below. I think that they have a chance. I think Guardiola wants to leave, and I also think that he wants to win the Champions League to leave his mark.
Yeah.
If they actually were able to pass the round 16 right now on Champions League, I think he'll prioritize that. Seven or six Premier League titles in the past 10 years for them.
No chance.
I know what I'm trying to say. Like, I think that in terms of priority, he should. I think he's trying to get this stuff.
He's got
Champions League ready.
2 starting 11s on that team
Yes.
that can end in the top 4. He can play one starting 11 or the other starting
But I
11.
watched some games from them against like Newcastle, for example. Great defense from Newcastle. The Spurs right now, this past game that they had, amazing defense from the Spurs. You are able to stop them if you really want to. Haaland, I think Arsenal stopped them on
Yes,
the,
we
on
did.
the-
With our
He's
B
on
team.
hold a little bit, huh?
Yeah, with our B
I mean, he's having a phenomenal season. I think
Yeah.
he will score 50 goals plus this year. It's just, I don't think that's the season for them in the Premier League. I would rather see Man U or Newcastle going there.
So you're saying Arsenal, United, Newcastle, City.
That's
I'll
my
take,
top
man. I'll take. We'll see.
That was
see
what I was
what
working
happens.
on. Right.
All right. So my top 4. I'll give a little preamble before I get into it. I just want to say, boys, that we're back to some normalcy where Arsenal and United are in a title race. City about to get relegated. And Liverpool are mid-table club again. We're back to normal. Now, here's my prediction. Bar anything that happens with City. Like whatever happens. And I think this is going to take like at least 5 years to sort out. So I think City's going to win it, bar anything that happens. Arsenal will come in second, just because I don't think we have the experience. We have the youngest team in the league, so I don't think we have the experience.
You're an Arsenal fan, yeah?
Yes, I'm an Arsenal fan. Don't hate me. Don't hate me, good. I'm a realist too. I just don't think we have the experience for like that last 10 games where, let's say, we're really far up in the Europa League and we're competing on all these fronts. I just don't think we have the experience, which City do. They have the coach, they have the players, like you just said. They have like two starting 11 teams. So I think City, Arsenal, Newcastle, and then it's a toss-up between United and Tottenham. But I do think United might edge it out. I hope Arsenal do end up winning, but I do think City have the experience.
Ref, are we allowed to copy picks over here? What?
But yeah,
Great
that's
minds think alike.
All I'm going to say is when my Brighton pick comes true, just make that a TikTok, bro.
Oh, I hope it
Just
does for the
drop
content.
it on Martino. Just make sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Brighton is they're doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Even not just from McAllister speaking before, but Caicedo is a really nice player. Sorry, Trossard, which is just changed to Arsenal. Absolutely, they have it. They have it. A couple of defenders, like a British defender. Actually, Tyson played with him. Remember, he said that in your podcast.
Yeah, Tyson Farrago.
It was I forgot the name of the
No, it's Dunk, right?
Yeah, Leo
Yeah.
Dunk.
Yeah.
So he's actually pretty solid as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not starting over the past couple months. He was having a good first 4 months of the year. So yeah, I think Brighton has a chance to go far.
I think so.
Maybe as far as 4th, not as far as 3rd. But I think it's not like a crazy pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still think it's really realistic for them to get there. Different than Brentford. I don't think Brentford will stay in the top 5. So, but yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks for hosting us, Graham.
Anytime, guys.
Great
Thank you so
views.
much for
You're welcome,
Yeah.
guys. You're welcome.
No, you guys are always welcome. Thanks for
Lots of
coming by.
insights. We really like what you're doing here, and hope we can not only
Appreciate
grow
you
the
guys.
sport, but also grow our channel and our content, and just take things to the next level. I think it's up to people like us to ensure that not only passing the baton, but also making sure the youth are exposed to the experiences that we've had.
Yeah, 100%.
Take it from there.
Yeah, so thanks for watching. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff.
Notification bell.
And make sure we'll put their information and their stuff in the bio and everything. Wherever this is posted, their stuff will be underneath just to help out a small little company like that. I'm just kidding.
Appreciate
No,
it. Thank
no,
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All the best.
Thanks. Take care, guys. See you next time.
Boom, outro king. Hey, outro king.